Hey all, welcome back to ShareTreck. Happy Canada Day to all the Canadians out there, and happy Independence Day to all our American friendos. We're looking at a very entertaining company, so without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, friendos. Now, today's company is a company that just reported about a few days ago, and about 10 days ago was at its all-time high. After earnings, it fell 8%. And the company today we're looking at is Micron, ticker symbol MU. I'm not a Micron expert, but we're learning together. So this company, as I said, was reached its all-time high about 10 days ago and fell when we had earnings just this past Wednesday, 8%. Micron is a company in the semiconductor space and has been a favorite stock of Mr. Jim Cramer. It reported earnings on June 26th, and to my surprise, actually had a great beat on EPS. The estimate EPS of 0.38 actually had an actual EPS of 0.43, and that's a nice 13.6% beat. So nice thumbs up right there. If we were to compare it to some of the prior years I took a look, Micron has a history of EPS numbers all over the place. Actually, just last year, its EPS was negative, and now it's very positive. In fact, it guided in the future to have an EPS of 1.10, which is a significant, that's nearly a double up in EPS next quarter. So good job, Micron. You really pulled yourself together from the prior year, actually. It also had a great beat on revenue, where the expectation of 6.67 billion, we came in an actual of 6.81 billion. Another nice thumbs up. So why, after good revenue, good guidance, good earnings, are the shares following? First of all, a little bit about the company. I went through the annual earnings and found out this company is in the business of storage and memory products, again in that semiconductor space. In simplest terms, this is like the lamest terms. Micron is a manufacturer that sells goods and services to computer companies and solid state drive manufacturers. Unlike NVIDIA, Micron actually manufactures their chips and also designs their chips, though they do a little bit of subcontracting to companies in Singapore and in Taiwan, probably Taiwan Semi, and there's a couple others in that area. A lot of really expert companies in the semiconductor space, so they got some pretty good partners. And their business is in quite a few different sectors. After looking at their annual report, I see sectors such as networking and computing, which deals with cloud storage and cold storage, pretty much servers for big computer companies, and also deal in mobile business, which deals with they talk a lot about DRAM, and NAND. The simplest ways to look at these terms, and it took me a lot of reading to quite get what's going on. So the DRAM is temporary storage, kind of like a whiteboard, where you can write it down and you can erase it. Whereas the NAND is a long-term storage, kind of like a filing cabinet. You put their things long-term. So that helped me understand a lot more of what they're doing. They're doing a lot of work in helping companies with their cloud storage, with a lot of their storage, and creating things like memory, especially in semiconductors. So now we got a little bit more of a grasp of what Micron actually does, which is sell goods and services, semiconductor parts, to solid state drives, and also provide server storage, short-term and long-term. Let's get right into their earnings. Micron had a 50% growth in data center revenue. Now, they're saying that this represents the largest part of their revenue. And this shouldn't be too much surprising after we've covered companies like NVIDIA and other companies in the semiconductor space, where this is a booming industry, data centers. and it's common amongst all AI companies. Though data center is supporting a lot of the growth, not all the growth. And I'm going to share a little bit of document right here. This right here, viewers, is their annual report, and I pulled it up to page 47. As you can see right here, this CNBU, just see that as their data center, their cloud revenue, and kind of like AI, rather than all these very, very technical little acronyms. We can use our imagination, wonder what's going on. That represents about a third of their business. However, a big change over the years, you can see significant drops, which should be a little bit of a red flag, little alarms going off in your head when you start to see some of that going on. But another nice thing is their revenue is kind of spread out. And when I see that, I like that because it means diversification. So if one sector, one part of the company isn't doing too well, we have other areas which can pick up the slack if a certain part is starting to flop. So we see a drop in a little bit of revenue, and that is one thing which is going to make me a little alarmed about MU, and I'm going to get into this further quite a bit. So their other sources of revenue, as we said, mobile devices, their cloud storage, goods and services selling to solid state drives. This DRAM over here, when they start talking about DRAM, their business revenue right here, the fact that it dropped to less than half screams a big sign to me. And I found out this while listening to their earnings and going through their earnings. This company is screaming to me that is a very, very cyclical business. And it tells me that it does very well according to the business cycle. According to the business cycle, if things are very nice, very good, very doing well, the company does very well. Its margins, its revenue, very, very high. But if we see the inverse, as I'll demonstrate when I get into margins, it's looking not so hot. This is true of other companies like NVIDIA, of course. However, NVIDIA has two major things ahead of Micron, which is cash and net margins. NVIDIA is boasting amazing net margins, like 35%. And it's got so much cash on hand that they actually make more money off interest than they're actually have spending on interest, which is great. The story isn't the same as with Micron, as I'll show when we get into the some of their more fundamental statements. Researching a little bit further, Micron, this is just something I pulled off on the internet, makes up about 26% of the memory chip market. But again, cyclical market. Within these cyclical industries, again, this includes NVIDIA, these companies, and Cathie Wood, she had a very, very poignant argument when she talked about this, which cyclical industries get a lot of orders when we're in a boom cycle and prices start to rise, which is great. And then these companies start to raise their supply to meet that demand. But eventually, and this very frequently happens, demand does fall. And when demand does fall, supply, which remains high, a lot of these companies have trouble with that inventory, and a lot of the time have to start discounting. So Cathie Wood, her solution is she invests in innovation. So that's something to remember. And what a great point by her. Very poignant point. Moreover, I found out that Micron announced that AI data center revenue represented the largest increase in amongst their data segments. But what I see over here when talking, as I demonstrated over there, is a little bit of a sales tack. Micron, they had abysmal prior years. In fact, if I look at some of their revenue, especially some of their margins, their 2022 and their 2023 were a little bit of an abysmal year. So if you compare to a very low number, of course it looks nice. 50% growth sounds great, but you're comparing to something very, very low. And I don't know how sustainable that is for a cyclical industry. Now, this is a manufacturing company, and margins are lower on manufacturing companies than software companies. And I'm just going to go ahead and show a little bit of what I've been talking about with these margins. This over here is macro trends. You could get the same information over in you could get the same information from the annual statements and quarterly statements, but this just shows a very nice visual. I pulled up margins. As you see, gross margins for a long time, they've been kind of steady. But what starts to happen in recent years is we get a big decline. In fact, you can see in the prior 2 years I was talking about, things started to get really bad. In 2023, their margins went negative. They were actually losing money. So as they start to increase, as that gross margin, operating margin, you see hearing that 50% increase, comparing to what? We're comparing to a not so great time. In fact, their net margin still isn't really all that hot, especially compared to NVIDIA. So why is it going up? And why do we have such a massive spread in margin? Of course, seeing margins like this makes me think that there is room to grow. And in their conference call, the folks at the company, the management, they were saying, we think there's a lot of growth. We think there's going to be a lot of growth. However, margins are just so unpredictable to me, especially as we take a look at some of the other things. Look how unpredictable that net margin is. Pardon me, that net income and that revenue is. This is quite risky, in my opinion. And memory chips, they do follow that boom bust cycle, that cyclical cycle. In my opinion, their viewers, and I've done quite a bit of fundamental analysis, a lot of discounted cash flows. It's really hard to do a full fundamental prediction analysis and a discounted cash flow for a company that just has such large ranges in margins. If I were to speculate, you have to do a lot of speculation with a company like this. So if I were to speculate on where these margins would go, and my speculation is a little bit off, that'll throw my numbers way aloof. So you can't really do a discounted cash flow for a company with such unpredictability as you can with other companies like NVIDIA, which is also in the same space. This makes me think that this company, Micron, it might have been running to those all-time highs following a little bit of that AI euphoria. And will the euphoria dissipate? In the conference call, I read through the transcript and I went to very specific parts. The conference call said regarding margin and regarding growth in the company, they said early gross margin is lower, but mature gross margin is, they believe, gonna ramp up and will grow rapidly and will grow pretty soon. Margins for the business in servers, they say, are growing and helping, but margins right now are still going to be low on the lower end. And they said that they're excited about this thing called HBM, which is high bandwidth memory. So very much like some of the other chip makers, much like NVIDIA talking about their new chips. They're also talking about some fancy new products for the clients. They're making a lot of promises, but in my opinion, their margins are a little bit unreliable. And this is kind of in my opinion, a risky company, Micron. Though their cash, they do have enough cash right now to meet some of their short-term debt. I'm not too worried about their cash despite their margins going negative. However, I am a little bit worried investing in a company which is about at all-time highs and is telling me that it's a cyclical company. I did see a little bit of the Nike earnings, which came out on, I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Nike fell, the stock, 20% after it announced that it's seeing lower demand and lower revenue. I don't know if this is a little bit of an early indicator, but if it is, a cyclical company like Micron, I'm getting a little bit worried about. Personally, Micron is in the semiconductor space. It is an AI company. It does have AI in there. and AI represents the largest part of its growth. However, I am concerned about the fluctuation of margins and buying this at all-time highs. Personally, I think there are better options, especially companies like Nvidia, which I can better predict. So to me, I wouldn't personally, not financial advice, personally, I'm being a little weary of this. However, there might be a little bit of a trade opportunity because it is off of its highs. So maybe there's potential for that. Moreover, JP Morgan Chase just recently announced a price target raise from 130 to 180. So sometimes that can be a bullish tailwind for the stock. However, I'd like to hear what you guys think. What do you all think about Micron? Do you think that this company is something that we're missing out on? And this company is going to be a big, big changer in that semiconductor space. Let me know what you think. And I believe Raj would like to talk a little bit about maybe the technical something. Raj, what do you think?
Hey, Sandeep.
Pardon me
Yeah.
about
So
that.
I was
Sorry about
listening to
that.
you about Micron. So
Yeah.
I think that companies like Micron, they, as you rightly pointed out, they are in a boom and bust cycle
Yeah.
because RAM prices, sometimes they become very expensive when there's a shortage, and then they become very cheap when there is a plethora of them.
That's
Now,
true.
I want to share the screen
Please.
with you for one of the pages on Micron.
Yes.
So this HBM3E,
Yes.
right? So this is
HBM,
what they
high
claim
bandwidth.
is the industry's fastest, highest capacity, high bandwidth memory in Micron's next generation of AI memory. And it supports AI training and acceleration in most sophisticated compute platform designed for cognitive technology.
Hmm.
Now, if we were to look at what NVIDIA has said, right? The
Yes.
entire AI boom is being led by NVIDIA. So
Hmm.
they got Blackwell, and now they have got the next generation also they have announced.
Yeah.
And in Blackwell, they showed how um, um, a board has got two Blackwell chips and a CPU, and then you stack the boards together, and then it becomes a unit which has got a lot of power, and you put more of them together, then you have a data center. Now, in each of these boards, they have got high bandwidth connectivity between three chips in the Blackwell in each component, and that is high speed, and that enables the entire uh, memory that is allocated in that board to be used by all the chips as if it belonged to them, and it's high speed. So I do not know who supplies that memory to NVIDIA
Oh.
and how that technology has evolved. But if that was to be true, and that AMD would probably use their new memory chips, next gen memory chips, and supply for that architecture, then that could be a big boost. That could be a reason why you can anticipate that they would do very well, because the market is getting separated into two parts. One is the gaming PC, which is more than strong enough for office applications and other things. And the other is AI, data centers and AI PC and those kind of things. So I'm suspecting that wherever you got AI PC, you would need high speed memory, and that should be the next gen memory that is compatible with that kind of architecture. And even if that is not the case, then there are aggregators like SMCI who are building AI data centers to spec. They might be using Blackwell chips and other components, and they may use the Micron next generation AI memories. So those possibilities are there. So that could be another way of looking at the future of Micron. So right now, I think, as you said, there has been positive recommendations for the share price, and that could be moving the market. And people like to invest where they see the share to be ahead.
Yeah.
Therefore, even though the markets are high, when a company is about to declare a result, once it declares the result and meets the targets, the share price falls. So a phenomenon like that can be seen in Micron because the market might be front loading the possibility that their next gen chips, which is the HB chips, whatever they were talking about
Yes.
for AI, that could be the leader because everything else has fallen. So that's the way I was looking at it, Sandeep.
Yeah. A nice point. And good I like what you think about that boom and bust cycle. Kathy Wood, she really made me think about that. So thank you for reinforcing that point.
Yeah, and with regard to Kathy Wood, right? She was inspiring everybody to go for DNA as well. Ginkgo Bioworks.
Yes.
She sold Nvidia at the wrong time. So she's again a polarizing figure. There are
Yes.
two things about. I mean, at the end of the day, what I tell most people when they ask me, should I buy this share at this price or should I buy this share now? I mean, it's an individual decision. You have to do your own analysis
Yes.
because as far as Kathy Woods is concerned, right? She's getting a salary
Mm,
and all the money that she has collected from the people, it's gone into an exchange traded fund, so nobody can redeem it. They can just sell it and book the loss.
yeah.
So she's in a much stronger position than a fund manager for a mutual fund, because if a
Mm,
mutual fund doesn't perform, people will redeem it and the corpus will go down and they'll have to shut it down. That's not the case with ETF. So she's able to do all these things. But at the end of the day, I think we are responsible to ourselves and our spouses if we lose big money chasing companies like this. So anyway, thanks a lot, Sandeep.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for the insight, and it was a fun video. I look forward to doing it again, and it looks like we're going to be soon talking about some genomics again with Illumina. That's going to be fun.
Yes, Illumina has declared some impairments and other things. So Sandeep has kindly agreed to take a look at their balance sheet and come back to us with a video on Illumina. So we'll
Yes.
wait for that and we'll try to do it as soon as possible.
Oh
We
yeah.
don't have to wait until the weekend. We'll see.
Yes.
If
That'll be
Sandeep gets time, it could be ahead of schedule. So with that, I think, Sandeep, we are done with the video, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, happy
So
Canada Day, happy Independence Day, and
happy Canada Day to everyone. And please press the like and subscribe because we are very close to 20,000. Push us over there. Most welcome. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.
bye, friendos.